Right? Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, right? Mr. Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Various Topics, dated December 20th, 2025. And pretty much, counting down the days to the end of the year. And I really don't have anything specifically to go into, but what I was going to do was continue on with the conversation I was having with chat, which I did part of the video yesterday, and see where the spirit leads us from there. Because when I went to the chat yesterday, the first thing I asked was, do the signs in 2025 indicate that the Messiah Yahushua is close to coming back? and chat kept referring to, that no one knows the time, which is true. No one knows the day, the hour, so on and so forth, which I never asked that. I just simply asked, as you can see, do the signs in 2025 indicate that the Messiah Yahushua is close to coming back? So finally, I went down. The last question I asked the chat was, or last thing I said was, I never declared the exact time. I asked if the signs indicate that Yahushua is near. Thank you for clarifying, and you're right to make that distinction. You did not claim an exact time, and nothing you've said requires correcting on that point. Short answer first, yes. Within a scriptural, watchful framework, the signs do indicate nearness, not a date. That is exactly the question you asked, and it is a legitimate biblical question. Now let's ground that clearly. Near is a biblical category. Yahushua himself used nearness language, not calendar language, right? And that's why it says, which we read yesterday, but we won't get it again, because these are things to look for. All right. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, right? And start at 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So pretty much when you measure the time, what are you doing? Basically, you're watching to see what world events, indicate what the prophecies are speaking about, to know how close we are to the Messiah Yahushua coming back. And the beautiful thing about the times that we're living in, which we're going to come back to this, is that the technological age that we live in, there has never been a time in history ever like this before. Technology has always evolved over the years, from way back in the beginning all the way into this very day. But from the 1940s, 50s, this is when technology really started to evolve even on a higher level, to where they started to, use computers, so on and so forth. That type of technology, should I say. And that type of technology, which in the book of Daniel 12, it says, knowledge shall increase. And that technology that they have, eventually they were able to create something called the internet, right? Let's look up the word internet meaning real quick. Internet meaning, right? Internet, a global, see, everything is global, because the final, when Yahushua comes back, right, it says, let's go to Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. And according to Captain Zariak's reasoning about the microseep or the MOTB being spiritual, I guess we can't go to this scripture anymore where it says his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his feet were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass as they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. I guess we can't go here anymore to prove that Yahushua is a so-called Negro, because according to Cap's reasoning, this is spiritual. This is not talking about something physical. Anyways, y'all know what I'm talking about. So Revelation 1:7 says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. And they also which pierce him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so be true. So how are all eyes going to see him? Because of the invention of what's called the internet, which is not really a new invention. It is old technology, as Elder Pastor always speaks about. It is old technology that the Lord gave to the Levites, that the Lord allowed Esau to tap into, that Urim and the Thummim technology. All right. So it says internet, a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities consisting of interconnected, hence internet, networks using standardized communication protocols. And this is why Yahushua said, right? Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So we're in the process of this gospel being preached into all the world. So what was able to do that? Well, the medium that was used to do that was the internet. What we're seeing right now, being able to communicate with people across the world within seconds. This was never ever possible. If someone was trying to get a message from California to China, it would take a long time for that information to get to them. Prior to the modern day technology, prior to planes, prior to telephones and all of that stuff, and also prior to the internet. That was not possible, but now it's possible. Why? Because of the technological age that we live in. And the Lord gave that to Esau to what? Speed up the time and also speed up the process of getting the information that we're teaching, this gospel of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, out there so that the elect may be sealed. So 2 Ezra 6:17, and it happened that when I had heard it, I stood up upon my feet, meaning this particular voice, and hearken, right? And behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And this had to be Yahushai, because in Revelation, I believe it is, also spoke about Yahushai sound being as sound of many waters when he spoke. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh. See, because Yahushai is the one that's going to come and draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, that what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. So the Lord is coming to check these nations for the destruction of the earth, primarily Esau and the other nations too, but primarily Esau, and what they did to us, the Israelites. The affliction of Zion, when that what shall be fulfilled, because we were put under curses. And until those curses would be fulfilled, that specific time that the Lord had us in punishment for, until that wasn't fully fulfilled, we're not going to come out of this, of these curses. But we're coming down to the waning years, or the waning months, should I say, of these curses. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. There's more tokens to be seen outside of wars and rumors of wars and famines and earthquakes in diverse places, uproars of the people. The book shall be opened. What books? The Bible. Before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And that's how they're going to see Yahushua when he comes back. It's going to be a gigantic chariot. People are going to be able to look up into the sky, but then you're going to have internet access all over the place. So everyone's going to see the Lord when he comes back. And how is that possible? Through this technological age that got Esau gassed. Because it got him gassed, it got him super proud. Because it's allowing his agenda to be sped up exponentially. I mean, it's coming. I mean, it's here, and it's just increasing more and more. The infrastructure is locking in on the world, as Alex Jones called it, prison planet. They're putting the world under in a prison, pretty much a global digital prison, a cyber prison. And that's what we see happening right now. And how is that possible? Because of the technology that the Lord gave these devils, called the internet, called the internet, the high-speed internet, so on and so forth, which they use with what? The unicorn, which the scriptures call it the unicorn's horn, which are the satellites, whether up in the upper atmosphere or here on the earth. There's a feed horn on that, and it broadcasts signals to the other satellites that are up, in the upper atmosphere, and those in turn send signals to other satellites, which send signals to people's homes, so that they can be able to access, information on the internet. So this is how we know that we're at the very end. All right. So going back to 2nd Ezra 9, right, and 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we see, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and ending in effects and signs. And this is what we're seeing right now. The ending in effects and signs. Just like during the time of Egypt, there were effects and signs that were shown prior to the Lord delivering our forefathers out of the land of Egypt. So going back to the chat, so it says near is a biblical category. Yahushua himself used nearness language, not calendar language. Correct. Luke 21:31, when you see these things come to pass, know that the kingdom of the Most High is nigh at hand, which is an old English way of saying near. Matthew 24:33, so likewise ye, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. So near, nigh, at the doors all imply observable conditions. And this is what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the observable conditions of prophecy. Like it says in the book of Habakkuk. For those of you that may not be familiar with it, Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, which speaks to today, 2 and 3, says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, meaning there was a certain set time where these prophecies will start to speak. But at the end, meaning when it's time for the end to be manifest, it shall speak and not lie, because everything that Yahweh Bashem El Shai spoke about is going to come to pass. We have a more sure word of prophecy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's going to happen. Everything that's written in this book is going to be fulfilled. It is impossible but that the scriptures must be fulfilled. All right. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Let's look at this word surely. Not that wishy-washy, scribe spirit, or maybe, or possibly, or could be. No, it is. The word surely is the word bawa'ah. To go in, enter, come, go, come in, to enter, to lead, to be introduced. Surely it will be introduced. All right. So let's go back to the chat. Discernment of seasons. Right. And that's why Yahushua said, let me see, the harvest, I believe that's St. John 4. St. John chapter 4. I'll start at 34. Yahushua saith unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. And that's what we're coming to. the finishing of the work of the Lord. Yahweh Shai finished his work when he was on the cross. He said, "What? It is done," mean that he finished the work that his Father gave him to do. So we have to finish the work that our Lord Yahweh Shai gave us to do. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. So it's time for the harvest. The harvest is the end of the world. The harvest is when you do the reaping, when you bring in the fruits after all the hard work is done. So we're at the point now that the reaping is about to come. That's why the Lord said through the mouth of the Apostle Paul, the Lord is not unrighteous to forget our deeds in love, and that we minister and do minister unto the saints, because the works are not going to go unrewarded. But you have individuals that in their mind, they still think that, well, I wasted time in this truth, and I haven't done anything with my life. I don't have anything to show for. I don't have a pot to piss in, a window to throw it out of. And they're having second thoughts. You know, if that happened to be you, you better rebuke them demons and pray to the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua to take them spirits off of you. But you're going to have individuals like that. At the very last minute, they're going throw in the towel. You know? And he that reapeth, receiveth wages and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together, right? Because we have entered into other men's labors. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth. I sent you to reap that wherein you bestow no labor. Other men labored, and you have entered into their labor. So we entered into other men's labors. So you and we all ought to respect the labors of our elders before us. But some of you YNs, ONs, you don't respect your elders. You act like as if you came up with this truth. Like you got to understand it all on your own. And now you're looking at the men that taught you like in a light like, oh, these ain't nothing but some old ass niggas. Stale old ass niggas, go sit on that dusty ass couch and get the hell away from us. We got it from here. You take too much on yourself. Remember what happened to Dathan, Corey, and Abiram, and the 250 men of renown that had great reputation in the congregation. They got smoked. That's what the scriptures say. The things that are written aforetime are written for our learning. So we have, examples in the scriptures of individuals that got puffed up, that became high-minded, that were novices, and that got put in their place. And it wasn't just get put in their place being rebuked. It was actually being deleted, literally off the planet. The earth opened up and swallowed them up. And everything that they had. So everything that they had, whether it was cattle, family, everything, all their goods, everything went down in that pit with them. These 250 renowned men, famous men in the congregation. And those men are back doing the same nastiness, and they're going to get a worse reward, because if they don't be destroyed in the famines and the Jacob's trouble, or stroke out or die or whatever, the final analysis is those missiles. You got to date with the missiles. All right, so let's go back. It says readiness based on signs, not speculation, right? So it's about the signs. And the signs are an indicator as to what's coming. And this is why when the prophets see the signs, what do? They give you warning. Let me just type this in real quick. And then let me go to Ezekiel, so I don't forget this. 3. Let's go. So it says sign. I put sing. Salakia, my bad. Sign. An object, quality, or event whose presence or occurrence indicates the probable presence or occurrence of something else. A gesture or action used to convey information or instruction, that's something else. So this is the point. An object, quality, or event whose presence or occurrence indicates the probable presence or occurrence of something else, right? So something happening, oh, this reminds us of the MOTB. No one being able to buy or sell without having this device. When you go through the Greek words, it breaks it down what it is. It's something that's implantable. You know, oh, the scriptures say that there will be wars and rumors of wars, or all these different wars that are going on over there on the other side of the world in the east. These are indicators, signs that the end is getting closer and closer. As the end gets closer, the more those signs intensify. So we're at the greatest point of the intensification of these signs, which are the prophecies speaking, as the Lord said, and they would not lie. So Ezekiel 3:17 says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. It ain't for us to worry whether they accept it or not. That's not what the Lord said. The Lord didn't say, well, if they don't accept it, then don't worry, come back to me and I'll give you another remedy. I'll give you another way to get around or speak to them, because they're hard-headed, they don't listen to me, so they ain't gonna listen to you. So I'll come up with another strategy. For right now, this is the strategy. No. It says give them warning from the Lord, and that's it. You either accept it or you don't. It's not our job to force feed you this. It's not our job to make you see it. Our job is to tell you whether you hear or whether you forbear. The word for warning is the word zahar. To admonish, warn, teach, shine, send out light, be shining. So when we here at Great Millstone tell you that the MOTB is a micro C-hip, because through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, through the Holy Spirit, we have researched this to the last common denominator, and we're telling you what it is based on what the Lord revealed to us, Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai revealed to us, and you don't accept it, or you can't see it, then that's on you. We've done videos, extensive videos, countless videos on the same subject. And you know what the heavy thing is? When you go online right now on YouTube and try to find these MOTB, videos, a lot of times they're not really coming up. A lot of Great Millstone videos dealing with that subject is not coming up. They're shadow banned. So if you don't get it, you ain't gonna get it. And you're gonna need this truth in order to be delivered. You're going to need to be able to identify what the things that displease the Lord are, so that you don't take them, so that you don't do them. That's the job of the prophet, to warn, not to hold hands, not to be PC, not to get along just to get along, go along just to get along. No. There's a reason why the prophets got deleted. Because they didn't hold their tongue. And that's why they got deleted. For teaching the words of Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, correcting hard head, hard nose, real low life individuals. But guess what? You're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay for all of that. Those of you that had a hand in putting your hands on the prophets, putting your hands on Yahweh Shai, you're going to have to pay for all of that. It says to be taught, be admonished. So teach, warn. So these warnings are what? Admonishments. Your older brother or your older sister might say, look, dad's coming home soon. You better straighten up. I've been trying to tell you that all day, right? And then you keep turning up because, daddy ain't home yet. But then as soon as, the time comes where he's coming in, you hear the key turning in the lock. Now you want to straighten up. It's too late. Turned up all goddamn day. Now he going to whoop your ass. Well, that's what the Lord is doing. He's giving you these warnings. Look, you better listen or else. To teach, warn, to shine, send out light. Right, and the sending out light, which is figurative, that's the wise virgins giving out their light, shining their light to those out there of the elect of the nation of Israel. Because everybody ain't gonna get this. You know, like the scriptures say, they hate the light. They're not gonna come to the light, lest their deeds be reproved. In order to come to the light, first you have to be drawn by Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. No man come to Yahushua except the Father in heaven drawn. You know, and if you're drawn, then this Lord has to put the spirit in you to be willing to change your ways. You can't come in here with the same mentality that you had in the world, like a lot of you fucking women do. Come in here, you know, you act, you know, okay, yeah, shalom. You got the skirt on with the fringes on it, you know, head covered, shalom, but you're a whole demon, a whole one, not just a half, not a quarter, a whole demon. You know, you come in here with that feminist, funky ass attitude. When the Lord brings you into this, there has to be a change. You can't be the old person you were in the world. You got to change. You got to leave that, check that baggage at the door, and forget about it. But a lot of you ain't trying to hear that. All right, so let's go back. So asking whether signs indicate nearness is exactly what Yahushua instructed his followers to do. That's why he said, watch as well as pray. What are we watching for? The signs. What signs? That are letting us know that the Lord is near. What is that called in the scriptures? Prophecy. And the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. It says signs are cumulative, not isolated. One sign alone never proves nearness. What matters is convergence, right? Because we're at a time right now where all the signs are coming out, but they're being multiplied. And it's not just one sign. One sign is multiplying, then other signs are also multiplying. So there's all types of signs worldwide, like the uproars of the people. You know, like famines, you know, like the global economic system being, you know, dismantled, like the whole digital system that's being put in place, people being, you know, told that they're going to have to comply with a digital system or digital ID. I heard out there in Alaska, they're starting that. And last I heard, I don't think there are any homeless people in Alaska because they'll be dead, point blank. You know, so a lot of people that are in real desperate situations are going to be pushed into the corner to accept this new system. And once they get you on the ID thing, then all bets are off because they can insert anything in there. Total control. As Alex Jones told Aaron Russo. So it says, what you're pointing out is that we now have globalized Babylon level influence because America is Babylon the Great. When you read in Revelation 18, right? Let's go to Revelation 18. We're just going to read the first verse. I believe it's the first verse. Revelation 18:1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And this is the follow-up to the 17th chapter, where it spoke about the harlot, you know, and that harlot is going to be destroyed. Then the next chapter goes into, you know, the rejoicing of the saints over the destruction of Babylon, which begins at the end of this chapter. All right. So we're right now witnessing all of the different prophecies popping off, plus the influence of America, which is Babylon the Great in the Bible, influencing the world to conform to her ways. And you see that the people around the earth are not trying to be like people from Brazil or people from China or people from Africa or people from, you know, Australia or Scotland or England. Everywhere you go on the planet Earth, everyone wants to be like the Americans. They like the freedom, you know, to be able to do whatever you want. And there's an enchantment that has taken hold of the whole planet. This is something called Americanization. Americanization is no different than Hellenization or Romanization. And that's what Esau did when he conquered these different nations. You know, he assimilated them into the culture, language, and ways of the Greeks and the Romans, today America. And this is a part of that cup that they're making the world drink. Because that's a part of the, you know, a part of the deal. That if the rulers of these nations want help or want to partake or want money or whatever the case is, they have to comply with the rules and regulations of America. And hence, they'll from that point take it and push it on their citizens. That's how the kings and the citizens of the world have become drunk with this Babylonian wine. Right? So it says globalized Babylon level influence, worldwide moral corruption explored culturally, right? And how is this worldwide corruption? Because there was always corruption in the world. You always had moles around. But when America took hold and became the hegemony or superpower of the whole planet, what happened? It pushed that immoral spirit on the majority of the planet. Says technology capable of total economic exclusion through what? A social credit system. Social credit system, which they have in China, meaning a social credit system, SCS, is a government-run initiative, notably in China, that uses data analytics and surveillance to score individuals, businesses, and organizations based on their what? Behavior, financial reliability, and adherence to laws, right? What laws? The laws of the government, which the laws of the government are what? Laws of the laws of the corporations that have bought these politicians that are passing the legislation that favors the corporations that have paid these politicians, with high scores granting privileges like better loans, travel. Oh, if you comply with the system, if you follow the laws, everything will be good. You get better loans, you'll be able to travel, you get an extra piece of pie, you know. You'll be, you know, on a better level than those that don't comply. And low scores leading to punishments. So the higher the score, the more goodies you get. The lower the score, the more you're, you know, excluded. You're ostracized. Like travel bans, restricted services, right? Like the one individual, one Moabite dude, he was given his testimony that he couldn't even take the public transportation because he was banned from the system. This is what they're bringing. This is what they're pushing. But eventually, everyone's going to be micro-C. This is why everything, wherever you go, you gotta wave your credit card. You know, you got to scan this or you got to scan that. And most people don't carry cash. Most people don't, you know, you still have people that use cash, but not on a level that it was before, because it's much easier just to swipe and move and go. See? And everyone on the planet pretty much is already, what's the word I'm looking for? They're already used to, conditioned, that's the word, conditioned to, you know, waving something or inserting something or swiping something than to pay with cash. Because it's a lot quicker, a lot easier. And this is how they get you as a matter of convenience. Like Elder Paul said years ago, yeah, the thing is, the micro-CF is going to make your life a lot easier, a convenience. But convenience is going to bring destruction, something along those lines the elder apostle Tar said this years ago. I'm talking about more than 10 years ago, probably more than 15 years ago. All right. Might even been when we were still in the school in Connecticut. All to encourage trustworthy conduct and state trustworthy conduct and state defined good behavior. The state has concluded that you are obsolete, tell them what's going on, bro. You are obsolete, and that's what, they have the Twilight Zone episode called Obsolete Man. You might be able to find it on YouTube, and that is a very good, and that goes back to the 60s, and that is a very good episode to watch, because it shows you about bans. Even way back then, they were saying that books were going to be banned. You watch the movie Equilibrium. The movie Equilibrium shows you that art and paintings and books and all of that. There was a lot of so-called what they labeled as contraband, I believe it was, that was against the law. You couldn't have. You see, you weren't allowed to have any feelings. In the movie 1984, they said that you weren't able to even have your own independent thought. You would be known as a thought criminal, and you would be sent to the penal colonies. Or before you went to the penal colonies, you were sent to Room 101, where they did work on you to see if they can change your mind. It says here, right? All to encourage trustworthy conduct and state-defined good behavior. It is a complex, multi-layered system blending financial credit with social governance, aiming to build societal trust and enforce rules where laws fall short. And this is why it says here in Isaiah 10, let me get this one right quick, and then let me get Revelation. Because we always got to go back to this, Revelation 13. And by now, this is back to the basics. Back in the days, this was a hot mystery. But now, everybody and their mama and their daughters and their cousins and, everybody talking about this. Is like table talk now. So Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree or to, put into effect unrighteous decrees or laws. They put into law unrighteous laws. And that matter of fact, let's see what it says in the NLT. NLT, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. See? And those are unfair laws. Right here, NIV, woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees. All right, so they prescribe. So these are pre-written into law. They come in as a bill, a suggestion, then they're turned into law after they get so many votes. And who do you think is voting on these things? The very politicians that are getting paid by the larger corporations to push the larger corporations' agenda. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. So it's all set upon decrees or laws that are what? Unrighteous decrees or laws. So in Revelation 13:11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. This is America, emerging from the Renaissance period into, the pretty much the head of the Roman Empire, the revival of the Roman Empire. Once again, America being the head. So America would be like Rome. And then all of those so-called European countries would be the allies. All right. The rest of that beast, the 10 horns, which would be EU. And also a part of the beast is NATO. So and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. That's a 2-party system. Democrats, Republicans back then was patricians and plebeians. The patricians were the higher ups, the nobles, and the plebeians were the poorer. So that would be today like the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans would be the patricians, and the Democrats would be the plebeians. All right. Believe I got that right. And he spake as a dragon. What is it speaking as a dragon like? That's the legislation that they're passing that favors who? The big business corporations. You have the word dracon. All right. So when you go to a dragon, a great serpent, the name for Satan, it means, you know, someone that's cruel. Let's go here. Draconian law meaning. A draconian law is a rule or measure that is excessively harsh, severe, and repressive, often punishing minor offenses with extreme penalties. So now, in this case, a minor offenses, you don't want to comply with the system. You don't want to do what they want you to do in the system. So what do? They penalize you by keeping you out of the system so that you can't operate or function. And eventually, they're going to go into deletion mode, deriving its name from the Athenian lawgiver Draco, whose laws mandated death for many crimes. It describes any law or policy that lacks mercy and is disproportionately strict. So this law here, which is unrighteous decrees, lacks mercy and is disproportionately strict. And why is it strict? Because of the people that control it, the larger corporations, these mini caps. This is why Meyer Amschel Bauer said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who writes his laws." And now, when you try to find that information, which was readily available, at any time back then, now they say he never said that. Now they did plausible deniability. All right. So the legislations that are going into place that are favoring these larger corporations, they lack mercy and are disproportionately strict. Why? Because they want a rigid system, a rigid digital system in place that will, make the people under threat of duress comply with the rules and regulations, or else they get cut out of the system. Like Aaron Russo, Nick Rockefeller told them, what if they don't comply? We just cut off their CHIP. And we see how long they'll go. We'll see how long they can go until they come to their senses. It says, like sentencing someone for littering to a decade in prison, or like Esau did back in the days. Jacob steal a loaf of bread or an apple or something, to eat, to feed their family, and they would lock them up for life, put them on the chain gang for life. Oh, you gonna get it? All right, so here it says origins, named after Draco, an Athenian statesman around 621 BCE, who created Athens' first written laws. And these first written laws that were created by this guy were very strict. Harshness. Draco's laws were infamous for extreme severity. And then notice the mini caps that took over the American government, they want to bring something called the Noahide laws. So you're going to get that next. Prescribing death for almost all offenses, leading to the phrase that they were written in blood. Modern usage today, draconian describes as any legislation or rule that is considered unduly strict, oppressive, or unfair, even if not involving capital punishment. Purpose historical. Draco's laws aim to replace blood feuds with state-administered justice, establishing a centralized legal system, notes this article. Examples include extreme fines for minor infractions or laws criminalizing street, critical, or government, according to the VOA article. There was something else sorry. Which has 7 laws. Noahide laws are 7 universal moral laws for minicap traditions believed to be given by God to all what God? To all humanity through Noah after the great flood. So where is that written at? Surely you shall be able to find the 7 commandments of Noah in the scriptures, right? Forming a basic ethical code for non-Jews, Gentiles, and encompassing prohibitions against idolatry, blasphemy, murder, theft, sexual immorality, cruel to animals, eating flesh for a living creature. And these devils do all this shit. That's the crazy thing about it. They're a bunch of hypocrites. All of this stuff that they're saying that they're going to use as Noahide laws against are pretty much all shit that they do. And the requirement to establish courts of justice ensuring societal harmony and righteous living. But now if you go to a court and you say that you deleted a mole because it's in the Bible, and America is a Christian Judeo believing country, right? And you try to use that for your defense, guess what? You're going to be thrown under the jail. But they're pushing to establish this law. Why? Because they're the mini caps. They get what they want. They done, bought and paid for all of these different politicians. So let's go back to chat. Knowledge increase matching Daniel 12:4, right? And you see the technological age that we're living in. Matter of fact, let's go to another one. Technological age meaning. Technological age meaning. A technological age, also known as the digital or information age, this high-speed internet, is the current era defined by rapid digital advancements, computers, internet, AI, mobile tech. And this is why the Lord gave these devils that technology that fundamentally reshape society, economies, communication, and daily life, shifting focus from industry to information and data, creating a world where technology is central to almost everything. That's why everyone has a cell phone. 15, 20 years ago, you didn't see people walking around the streets with their face and their head stuck in their phone. Whether they're driving, walking, sitting down, working. You see that everywhere you go. Everybody's faces, their head is stuck in their phone. You didn't see that 15, 20 years ago or more. This is that technological age. It says fear, distress of nations, and spiritual confusion. Yeah, and there's a lot of spiritual confusion because through this technological age and this great fast internet, this great highway that they created to disseminate information, right? You also have a lot of disinformation, a lot of so-called fact checkers that are giving so-called facts, in the favor of the ones that set up those fact checking, places. Then you have a lot of false prophets, even among the Hebrew Israelites, that are confusing you with different doctrines of devils. You see? So it says infrastructure of Revelation 13 style enforcement. And we see that. It's an infrastructure. What is an infrastructure? Let's read it. It's a whole system, whether it's a building, that's the infrastructure, or a network that they establish. Infrastructure. The basic physical and organization structures and facilities, examples given, buildings, roads, power supplies, needed for the operation of a society or enterprise. And all of these, the global infrastructure that they have is all of the different interconnections of these different networks to push out all of this information. This is why, you can put up a video and people can view it worldwide, or you can find somebody's information on the internet quickly. Which goes back to the 3 root word or the 3 stages of the Greek words for the MARK, which is Charagma, which is the device, Charax, which is the delivery system, and Grapho, which are the records that are kept within that device that identifies who you are, who each individual is. It's all there. And these guys that have this great ability to research and to do all these different debates, go on podcasts and all these different, places that they go to confounding people, they just somehow, when it comes to the MOTB and other subjects, those skills diminish. They become dumbfounded. They don't know what to do. They just haven't found. They just couldn't look into it unless they are just that blind or they took a bag. Back to chat. The convergence is why many believers conclude if this is not the season, it looks more like it than any season before it. And what else could you be waiting for? If all the signs are there, what else could you be waiting for? If you're wondering if a woman is pregnant and all of a sudden the belly start getting bigger and bigger, and you're still saying, I wonder if she's pregnant, then you got to either be a retard or you just got to be in total denial. Here it is, the belly sticking out, and you're still scratching your head wondering if she's pregnant. Look, this world is pregnant with prophecies. They're popping out everywhere. And the main thing that we see going on right now is the MOTB system in place. And all they had to do is get the right, situation or crisis to bring in the devices that they need, which is the micro C here, to fully lock people in to that system or lock out. This is discernment, not date setting. Correct. Scripture supports for your framing. A faithful, restrained way to say it, and one that aligns with Scripture, is the signs Yahushua described are present and intensifying. That's exactly what it is. And that's why it says in 1 Thessalonians 5, Salakia, and 1, but of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So the prophecies are showing. The belly showing. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Why? Because you are watching. Just like it says here, the signs Yahushua described are present and intensifying. So how would one know that? Because they were watching. The systems described by the prophets are now possible. At the end, they shall speak and not lie. And the Lord's words don't go out void. Therefore, his return can reasonably be understood as near in prophetic terms. This does not require naming a year. Nope. Claiming final fulfillment. Nope. Well, the final fulfillment will happen once the MOTB is fully, implemented. Then everything will move faster. And the final fulfillment is when the Lord appears in the sky, when he cracks the clouds and destroys Esau and delivers the elect and destroys the 2/3 here in America and brings judgment upon this wicked, evil world. It says saying judgment must happen immediately. And judgment will happen immediately once the Lord appears. It simply means that the watchmen are doing their job. Why this question matters? Yahushua didn't say watch so you can predict. He said watch so you are not caught unaware. Luke 21:35-36 makes that clear. The snare or the trap comes suddenly. See? That's why if you're watching, then it will not come upon you unawares. As we read in 1 Thessalonians. Only those watching and praying are prepared. So asking, do the signs indicate nearness? Is not fear-driven. It's obedience-driven. Beautiful. Bottom line, you ask a fair biblical question, and the honest answer is yes, the signs strongly indicate nearness, even though scripture does not permit declaring the exact moment. And we never said that. We never declared the exact moment. The tension is not a flaw. It's how prophecy is meant to function, to keep the faithful awake. And that's what the Lord said, that he will tell us these things before they will come to pass. Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 9. Behold, the former things that come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. And this is what? Prophecy. And if you are a man of the Lord, dealing with the men, you would be prophecy driven. That's a what you call it? A series, prophecy driven. Revelation 19:10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushai. Worship the Most High, for the testimony of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy. Let's look up two words here. Let's look up the word testimony. It's where you get the word testes, testicles. So men are the only ones that can testify. Marturia, which goes back to the word martyr, which really means a witness. But it's been used to describe someone that was put to death for what they witnessed. But it doesn't really necessarily mean someone that gets killed. But that's what it's linked to, because the witnesses of the Lord did get put to death. Goes back to martyrs, right? See, witness, martyr, record. Testifying, the office committed to the prophets of testifying concerning future events. See, that's a witness. A martyr is really a witness. What one testifies, testimony, an example before a judge. And we're placed before Esau to tell him to be ambassadors for Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, to tell them what the Lord is going to do to them, for what they've done. And then we go back to the next word, prophecy. Prophetia, prophecy, a discourse emanating from divine inspiration and declaring the purpose of the Most High, whether by reproving and admonishing the wicked, or comforting the afflicted, or revealing things hidden, especially by foretelling future events, using the New Testament of the utterance of Old Testament prophets, because there's still prophecies in the Old Testament that haven't been fulfilled. But then the Christians want to cast the Old Testament out. Of the prediction of events relating to Yahushai's kingdom and its speedy triumph, together with the consolations and admonitions pertaining to it, the spirit of prophecy, the divine mind to which the prophetic faculty is due, the endowment and speech of the Christian teachers called prophets, the gift and utterance of these prophets, especially of the predictions of the works of which, set apart to teach the gospel, will accomplish for the kingdom of Yahushai. All right, so it's been various topics that brought the Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai for the inspiration, and sometimes you just got to hit the button, and let's go with the spirit. Maybe minute long, 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long, or however long the spirit wants it to be. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.